I'm not threatening you. Say one more word, and that's 30 days. 30 days.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Sovereign Citizens Hall of Fame with your boy TP. Today, we're courtroom hopping into the courtroom of Judge Tim Lewis out of the state of Washington. Just yesterday, Judge Lewis had a sovereign citizen before him. And on today, I want to see how Judge Lewis handled the situation and see what this sovereign citizen had to say. Now, I've covered Judge Lewis's courtroom in the past. And man, let me tell you, Judge Lewis does not play any games. And you know what? Normally, I would put links down in the description so you guys can go and check back on some of his older proceedings. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch this first proceeding. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that long. Do my commentary on it, and I'm going to share you two of Judge Lewis's past proceedings. I'm telling you, Judge Lewis is definitely a channel favorite. But with that being said, guys, let me just go ahead and get out the way, and let's go ahead and jump into these proceedings.
Fred McGru. Mr. McGru, go ahead and come forward, sir. Sir, you are Fred Eddie McGru III. So I got to tell you, I do not think our mic is working, Heather. I mean, I see Mr. McGru like leaning right into it and I can barely hear him. Mr. Taninga, do you mind testing his microphone or perhaps switching it out with yours? Because I'm having a very hard time hearing Mr. McGru. It's not. Yeah.
This is the prosecution microphone.
Yeah.
I'll sub it out.
Could you please bring that, the one that is, I guess, at least at this moment, defective? Thank you. Mr. McGru, I apologize. I just want to make sure I could hear you clearly. You are Fred Eddie McGru III?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good morning to you. Now I can hear you.
Yeah, before we proceed with this matter, can I state something for the record, please?
Yes, if it's factual about what happened and what led to the issuance of the infraction, I would need to swear you in first. But if it doesn't have to do with the facts surrounding the infraction, you can absolutely tell me whatever you would like.
Well, I want to preserve my rights under UCC 1-308.
Okay.
Without prejudice.
Okay.
And I want you to know that this was an unlawful stop that led to an unlawful detainment. And if you look at my ticket, he never gave me a driving infraction for anything. It was just a no insurance ticket. So that made the stop unlawful. So I'm asking you to dismiss this ticket without prejudice.
Okay, I got you. So I understand the legal defense that you're raising. So it sounds like you want to proceed with the contested hearing, challenging the infraction. Okay.
Yes.
So let me go ahead and call this case for the record. This is case 5A0273665. Mr. McGru was issued an infraction for operating a motor vehicle without proof of liability insurance on April 19th, 2025. He has responded to the issuance of that infraction by requesting a contested hearing. Mr. McGru, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read the officer's report to get their version of what happened. You've already told me a little bit about what happened, but I'm going to swear you in and have you kind of tell me the complete story from your perspective, and then the court will make a decision, okay?
Right.
So the court's going to go ahead and take a look at the report of the issuing officer. Okay. And the court has reviewed the report of the issuing officer, signed under penalty of perjury on April 19th, 2025. And Mr. McGru, I'm going to go ahead and swear you in. I'm going to have you raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm that any testimony you'll offer will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. So, Mr. McGru, you've already kind of told me some of what happened. You can put your hand down. You've already told me a little bit of kind of what your legal basis is to the challenge of the issuance of this infraction. Is there anything else you would like the court to consider in determining whether or not to find this infraction committed or not committed?
Yes, because I was test driving a car on that day. They never had any probable cause to pull me over. I didn't commit any traffic violation. He pulled me over. His reason for not giving me the traffic violation was he doing me a favor when the only thing he gave me was a no insurance because he knew that it was an unlawful stop. And they still followed me 5 minutes up the street after he pulled me over. So he never had probable cause for the stop. I didn't commit any traffic violations, speeding, no running lights, not using blinkers. He just pulled me over. So he had to give me something. And like I said, I was test driving the car. The car is not even mine. So I had to pay money already for the insurance on the car. And I don't even have the car. It was a test drive.
Okay. Okay. So this wasn't your car?
No, it wasn't my car. But however, I had to pay to get insurance because I thought I didn't know they was gonna push out the court date 2 months back. So I had to get it, but I don't have the car. The car didn't even belong to me. And I told them that.
Do you have a car right now, even if it's not this car?
Yeah, I have a car.
Do you have insurance on that vehicle?
Yes.
Do you have proof of insurance?
Yes, in the car.
Okay. Is it here?
Yes.
Okay, would you be able to bring that proof of insurance in so I could take a look at it?
Yeah, right now.
Okay,
I could go get it.
yep, that's fine. And Mr. McGru, while you're doing that, I'm going to call another case, but then as soon as you come back, we'll go back to your case, okay? Mr. McGru. We are back on the record at this time with City of Lakewood versus Fred Eddie McGru III. And Mr. McGru,
I got a question for you. This car right here, right? I got insurance for you, but why is this car is the topic of the matter when I got pulled over in a BMW 2007, and as you can see on the ticket, it was never no traffic or moving violation. So without that, is no insurance ticket to be written. So it was an unlawful stop, but I do have the insurance for my recent car. But I'm just not understanding why I got to present that when it's about the BMW.
You don't have to present it. I want to be clear.
Because I gave it, I bring it to you because it should be dismissed without prejudice, right? Because without the unlawful stop, then there's no insurance. He got to establish some kind of probable cause, whether it's a traffic violation or something, and he never done that.
Yeah. So
and I got insurance for the BMW the day after, even though it wasn't my car.
Okay.
So I already paid money for an unlawful stop that led to unlawful detainment.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking the courts to dismiss it without prejudice.
Yeah, I get it, Mr. McGru. Let me ask you at this point, because I just want to keep procedurally, I've viewed the officer's report. I've heard your testimony. Is there any other testimony, any other factual statement about what happened at the time that this infraction was issued that you would like to tell the court before the court makes a decision?
No, it wasn't never no probable cause to pull over the car.
Okay.
It wasn't no traffic violation being committed. And if you look at the ticket, he only gave me a no insurance ticket. He didn't give me a speeding violation. He didn't give me running a red light, not using my signals, nothing. So without that, there's no insurance. So he didn't establish probable cause to even pull me over.
All right. Mr. McGru, thank you. I appreciate that. So a couple of things. Court has reviewed the report of the issuing officer. It looks like the issuing officer initially conducted the traffic stop after having observed the vehicle being driven by Mr. McGru. It appears that the officer and his partner, Officer Cooper, observed that the vehicle that was being driven by Mr. McGru on South Tacoma Way had a dark license plate cover obscuring the license plate.
The license plate cover was visible, Your Honors. It's broad daylight, so that was just his probable cause to pull over to see if he smelled something or establish an investigation on the stop.
Yeah.
But it was visible. It was broad daylight. It was like 2 o'clock.
So the court does know, understands what Mr. McGru is arguing. However, the legislature has recently enacted legislation saying that license plate covers are prohibited under Washington law. And so when an officer sees a vehicle on a public roadway with a license plate cover, that is a basis for them to conduct a traffic stop. Now, Mr. McGru has argued that he doesn't believe the officer had probable cause, but it's worth noting that under Washington law, an officer does not have to have probable cause to issue a traffic stop. The officer has to have a reasonable suspicion to believe that there has either been a moving violation or some equipment violation, which is what a license plate cover would be. And if the officer has reasonable suspicion to believe that there is something about the vehicle that is contrary to Washington law, they do have a legal authority at that point in time to exercise their or activate their emergency equipment and facilitate a lawful traffic stop, which allows them to contact the driver and request a driver's license, proof of insurance, and vehicle registration. Now, under Washington law, every time an individual is operating a motor vehicle on a public roadway, upon demand of an officer, they are obligated to produce proof that there is liability insurance either for that driver and or that vehicle. That is what is required under the Washington statutes. When an individual can't produce proof, either in paper form or on their phone, that the vehicle that is being driven by that driver is properly insured as required by law, it is a basis for the officer to issue an infraction. And so, Mr. McGru, what I'm looking at here is a situation where it does appear you were properly cited for this infraction. The reason that I had asked you about the insurance and took a break in the proceedings so you had an opportunity to get that is I'm sympathetic to the argument that you're making, which is it wasn't your car, you were taking it for a test drive. And so my question about whether or not you had insurance on a vehicle that you presently own is because if you do, then even though I think technically under the law you did commit this infraction, the court is inclined to mitigate the infraction because you've already paid to have insurance on your vehicle. Operating a motor vehicle without insurance is a very expensive ticket. It's $559. And so one of the reasons that I ask people whether or not they have insurance currently is because even if they did commit the infraction, I will often mitigate the infraction amount or reduce it, usually to right around somewhere between $250 and $150. And so in this particular case, based upon the testimony that you have offered the court, that is my inclination. I do believe the officer had a legal basis to stop you. I do believe the officer properly cited you for failure to provide proof of liability insurance. But I also believe you when you tell me that you have insurance on the vehicle.
And I do have insurance for both of them.
Yep, and I believe you. So I'm going to go ahead and find that the infraction was committed because I believe it was. But I am going to mitigate the fine amount. I'm going to reduce it from $559 to $150. Okay.
Now, actually, how many people would come up in here with a license plate infraction? That means everybody will be in court every week because nowadays everybody got a license plate cover.
I got to tell you, Mr. McGru, I have seen in the last several months, I have seen more than I can count. People coming in, and I feel bad for them. They're coming in because a lot of times the license plate cover that's on the vehicle, sometimes it's totally clear. The license plate cover that is on their vehicle was on the vehicle when they bought it, right? And so it was there when they purchased it from the dealer. And the legislature changed the law during the 2024 legislative session, making that illegal. And it hasn't really been highly publicized. And so a lot of people are driving around with no idea that the license plate cover.
Because a lot of police, they won't pull you over for that cover. It got to be one of them police that looking for investigation to start. And everybody know Lakewood Police, they love pulling you over for any little thing to create their own investigation, open up something else. And that's why I said it was an unlawful stop. So the plate was just probable cause because it wasn't no traffic violation being committed.
Yeah,
so now
you're saying it was pretextual.
Yeah.
They use that as an excuse to
racial profiling, racial discrimination.
And Mr. McGru, I'm not saying you're wrong. All I'm saying is that based on the information that I have in front of me, there's no evidence of that. All I can look at is there a legal basis for the officer to conduct the traffic stop? And here I concluded that there was.
All right.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and reduce that fine amount. Mr. McGru, that has to be paid to the court by October 5th. You can pay it all at once or in payments, whatever's easiest for you.
All right.
And I'm going to have you come forward, sir, and we'll get you a copy of that.
Well, guys, we've come to the end of this recent proceeding dealing with sovereign citizen Mr. McGru, or should I say baby sovereign citizen. He didn't even really have, his sovereign citizen hat on. He mentioned a little something about the UCC, and he pretty much left it at that. So he didn't really get a chance to feel Judge Lewis's wrath, as I like to call it, which you will see. And I'm glad that I decided to share these next couple proceedings with you guys, because seeing this right here, you definitely want to see how Judge Lewis handles more aggressive sovereign citizens. But anyway, Mr. McGru, he made a point that he felt like he was being racial profiled or being profiled, period, that the police used the plate cover, as an excuse in order to pull him over, or as probable cause to pull him over. Is it possible? Of course. I mean, we see police officers do that all the time, whether you're black, white, Spanish, or whatever have you. If they want to pull you over, they definitely try to find something to pull you over. But nonetheless, in the state of Washington, we see that it's illegal. So it gave them the probable cause. But Judge Lewis looked out for him. He has current insurance, knocked it down from $500 and something fine to $150 fine. And, hopefully for Mr. McGru, that works out fine. And hopefully he doesn't have any more run-ins with the police. But with that being said, we're going to jump into these next two proceedings, which are older proceedings we share here on the channel, dealing with Judge Lewis. And I'm telling you, crazy, right? But there's going to be no commentary at the end of these, because I've done commentary on them in the past. So with that being said, guys, as always, thank you for joining me here at Sovereign Citizens Hall of Fame. And, I appreciate you guys. God bless you guys. But we're going to go ahead and jump into these two proceedings, and I'll catch you on the next video. All right. Thank you, guys. And God bless.
Mr. Moore, you can come forward, sir. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Are you Sherman Moore?
I am not.
You're not. Okay. And so are you appearing on Mr. Moore's behalf?
Yes,
Okay.
I am, and yes, here for that matter to handle the matter that's at hand.
Okay. And are you an attorney, sir?
I am the attorney, in fact, for the said name at hand here.
Okay. So you are an attorney representing Sherman Moore?
Yes, I will be handling the case for Mr. Moore.
Okay. And are you licensed by the state of Washington to practice as an attorney?
I am not licensed or a bar member or a lawyer or anything of the such, but I am here as a beneficiary executive for the said name.
Okay. Before I respond, let me see if the city takes any position. Mr. Gunderson, is the city taking any position on the representation of Mr. Moore in this matter? I don't even know if you're appearing on behalf of the city in this matter.
Good morning, Your Honor. Will Gunderson, prosecuting for the city. Your Honor, the city does typically appear for the contested hearings in which officers have been subpoenaed.
Was an officer subpoenaed in this matter?
Yes. Your Honor, the officer is present. Officer Berglund is here. Your Honor, my position at this point is to request a short continuance in this case. The basis being I rely on the Judicial Information System, or JABS, review that information relevant to the particular case. Within the last 20 minutes, the JABS database has gone down. Oh.
And
Do
you take a position on the representative of Mr. Moore appearing in his stead this morning for purposes of the hearing?
Your Honor, ultimately, the city would defer to the court on whether or not the individual is present is allowed to act on behalf of the defendant. To cut to the chase, Your Honor, this sounds like it might be a sovereign citizen type of situation. I don't know if the individual that is seated here is in fact the defendant, or if he is a completely separate person, separate and apart from the defendant that was pulled over at the time this incident took place. So that is a red flag, so to speak, or a question mark that does get raised in the city's mind, for which the city does believe that a further inquiry by the court may be appropriate. But ultimately, Your Honor, with regards to any representation, city will defer to the court.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Gunderson. So, sir, I'm going to ask you to identify yourself for the record, please.
I am one of the people.
I'm sorry?
One of the people.
Okay. Are you or have you been previously named or identified by the state of Washington as Sherman Moore?
I am not Sherman Moore,
Okay.
the entity in which you speak of.
Okay. And do you have any relationship to Sherman Moore?
I am just the beneficiary of that name.
Okay. Well, the problem that we have here is that at this point, based upon the record that I have before me, sir, you are not authorized to represent Mr. Moore as an attorney in this matter because you are not a licensed attorney by the state of Washington. And at this point in time, based on the record, Mr. Moore has not appeared in.
Oh, he's right here, sir. Sherman Moore is right here. The name in which you speak, he is right here, sir.
Well, that for the record, you're holding up a piece of paper.
Yes, the document, Sherman Moore, the entity in which you speak of, and one in which you this court intends to charge. So I am just a beneficiary of said entity. That is all. And that's why I'm here. So basically, I'm trying to find out the nature of said charges that pertain to said name.
Sure, certainly.
Is this a criminal or a civil matter is what I'm trying to figure out here, sir.
This is a civil matter. So Sherman Moore, or an individual identified as Sherman Moore, was issued an infraction here in the city of Lakewood on September 5th, 2024, and was ordered to respond to the issuance of that infraction, which it appears that he did, and requested a contested hearing in which he is asking to challenge the evidentiary sufficiency of the information relied upon by the issuing officer who issued the infractions or the issuance of those infractions. But by requesting that hearing, Mr. Moore, or the individual who was issued the infraction named Sherman Moore, indicated that he would appear in person as a living person here in court. And the problem that I have at this point in time is that based upon the record that I have before the court, Mr. Moore has not appeared as a living, breathing human being in this court in response to his request for a hearing.
I am simply just a man on the land that is here on behalf of that name as the beneficiary for that name.
I understand that. But at this point,
There's a claim being made. So therefore, like I said, I'm just here to understand the nature. You say it's a civil, so where is the verified complainant for said charges?
the verified complainant is the city of Lakewood, represented by the attorney on behalf of the city, who is seated in the courtroom to your left, appearing down to my right. And Mr. Gunderson, I'm just going to ask you to formally identify yourself for the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. Will Gunderson, prosecuting for the city. I am licensed to practice law in the state of Washington. My bar number is 46991.
So the plaintiff in this case is the city of Lakewood. They are appearing here this morning through counsel, or this afternoon through counsel. It also appears that the officer who issued the infraction to Mr. Moore is also present in court in response to the subpoena that was issued for his appearance. It appears that the only individual who has failed to appear for this hearing is the respondent, Sherman Moore. And so at this point in time, with the matter having been on the calendar at 10:30 a.m., it's now 12:04 p.m. Given that Mr. Sherman Moore has not appeared in person for this hearing, pursuant to the rules for infractions in Washington courts, the court will find that Mr. Moore has failed to appear and will enter a finding of committed to each of the 5 infractions. And I believe that concludes our court's calendar for today. So thank you all very much. At this point in time, the court will be at recess.
Understood, Judge.
Oh yeah, I'll do it in the, yep.
All right. Court is in recess.
So are we continuing or what's? Based off of what grounds or what?
Mr. Moore did not appear.
Sherman Moore is here. I am the man of the Moore, Sherman of the Moore family. I am not the entity in which you speak of. What? What kind of charade show is going on here? So what happens now? I have to file an appeal? Okay, okay. So I'm being railroaded. So the officer never had to show or anything, basically on the basis that so the witness or the subpoena I never got to cross-examine.
Amari Zion McCreary Bay. Good morning.
Islam, Your Honor. Grand rising to you as well.
Good morning. You are Amari Zion McCreary Bay?
Sir.
Good morning. Go ahead and have a seat. This is case 4A0892587. Mr. McCreary Bay was issued an infraction for operating a motor vehicle in excess of the posted speed limit, 11 to 15 miles per hour over the posted speed limit on December 11th, 2024. And let me take a look here. It does appear that Mr. McCreary Bay has a perfect driving record. And so it does appear that you are eligible for a deferral if that is something that you are interested in. You have responded to the issuance of the infraction by requesting a contested hearing. Is that how you would like to proceed this morning?
Yes, sir.
So the court's going to begin by reviewing the officer's report. After I've done that, I'll go ahead and swear you in, and you'll have an opportunity to provide any testimony you would like.
I also submitted some filings as well. I was just wondering if the court had time to review that as well.
Yes, I did review the filing that was filed with the court last week.
All right. And were there any objections to the filings?
There's no objection to the filings. I have reviewed the filing. So I'll let you make whatever argument you would like to make based upon what you've filed. I'll also let you offer any factual testimony you'd like the court to consider, okay?
Sure.
So let me go ahead and review the officer's report first. And the court has reviewed the report of Officer Jeremy Vall of the Lakewood Police Department, signed under penalty of perjury on December 11th, 2024, providing his factual basis for the issuance of this infraction. And Mr. McCreary Bay, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to raise your right hand.
I'm new to this legal, and I'm not Catholic or Baptist. I'm a Moroccan national. So
Yes, sir.
If it's all right, could I put my hand over my heart and say?
Yeah, that's fine. I just need you to affirm that whatever you tell the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
What testimony would you like to offer the court regarding the issuance of the infraction in this case?
First of all, on that morning, I was not driving. Driving implies that I was doing business or commerce. At the time, I was traveling because I was going from home to school, which is Clover Clover Park Technical College. And when he had pulled me over, it was over there by Clover Park, but there was a street where I had taken a left, and that's where he had pulled me over at. And he said I was in the school zone going 10 or 15 over, but I had already where I had turned is already past the school zone, and the speed limit for that was 35, and that's when I had went 35, which was after the speed limit sign.
Okay. And Mr. McCreary Bay, is there any additional testimony you'd like to offer at this time?
Not at this time. What actually, the stop was pretextual as well, because in what he had told me, he was like, you don't have a valid driver's license, but he only ticketed me for the traveling infraction. And if I believe that's a pretextual stop, because one, I wasn't cited for no like driver's license, which you don't need a driver's license to do travel. You only need the license to do commerce. And the pretextual stop is because he gave me a citation for the traveling part, but he didn't give me a citation for the ID.
All right, Mr. McCreary Bay, thank you. And I do want to note for the record that I have reviewed, actually over the weekend, I reviewed the declaration of Mr. McCreary Bay that was filed with the court on May 1st, 2025. So the court is going to make a finding that the infraction was committed. The court has reviewed the report of the officer. It does appear that the officer was utilizing a speed measuring device that was properly certified and calibrated at the time that it captured the speed of the vehicle being driven by Mr. McCreary Bay, or as Mr. McCreary Bay indicates,
Once I wasn't driving, I was traveling at the time, and I wasn't operating a vehicle. I was operating my personal property.
Correct. And so Mr. McCreary Bay has used the verbiage traveling and operating his personal property. The officer is using the verbiage driving and motor vehicle. I understand that Mr. McCreary Bay uses different terminology to describe that phenomenon. I respect that. But it does appear that the speed measuring device that was being utilized by the officer was in good working order at the time of the issuance of this infraction and did record that personal property, or what the officer refers to as the vehicle, traveling at a speed that exceeded the posted speed limit in a school zone. And so the officer issued the infraction based on that observation, as well as the officer's personal estimation of the speed at 35 miles per hour in a 20 mile per hour zone. So the court will enter that finding of committed at this time. The court does note Mr. McCreary Bay pointing out that the officer did not issue an infraction for failure to have a driver's license.
I did present him my passport though, too.
I do see that the enhanced traveler ID was presented. In response to that, the court does note that officers do have discretion to issue or not issue an infraction, even if there is a factual or legal basis for the issuance of the infraction. And it does appear that Officer Volley did decline to issue that infraction for failure to have a driver's license. However, that does not negate the issuance of the school zone speeding infraction, and the court will find that infraction is committed at this time.
The thing is, though, I'm a Moroccan diplomat, which implies that I don't fall under that jurisdiction.
And under that standing for diplomacy or for diplomatic community, If you are seeking exemption from this court's order, that would need to be taken up diplomatically with the United States Department of State.
Okay.
And the court has signed that order. And Mr. McCreary Bay, I'll ask you to come forward and we'll get you a copy of the court's order.
Quick question is, would there be a chance for a deferment if possible?
No, unfortunately, once someone requests a contested hearing and they proceed with a contested hearing, the court does not grant deferrals after a finding of committed has been entered.
All right.
Thank you very much, sir. You can go ahead and come forward and we'll get you a copy of that order.
I have a court case right here showing that my diplomacy and it shows it's a superior court case that establishes our US DDT as well.
And sir, that is something that you can raise on appeal if you would like to bring that up on appeal. Also, again, if you're claiming a diplomatic exemption, that is something that you can also raise with the U.S. Department of State.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm not threatening you. Say one more word and that's 30 days. 30 days.